All right, we're continuing with this very important chapter, and we're now on page number 16. We get to what is called critical thinking. Are you there?
Yes.
Let's look at it. Critical thinking. All right, I want you to look in the left margin and look at what it says under critical thinking and what it means. All right, focus, organized thinking about such things as the logical relationships among ideas, the soundness of evidence, and the differences between fact and opinion. All right, that's critical thinking. You're looking at something critically, and that gives you some idea of what critical thinking is. All right, now, have you ever found yourself in similar situations? If so, you may find help in your speech class. Besides building confidence, a course in public speaking can develop your skills as a critical thinker. Highlight that. In other words, you have to learn how to become a critical thinker. Those skills can make the difference between the articulate debater and the pushover, the A student and the C student, the thoughtful voter and the coin tosser. Okay? What is critical thinking? To some extent, it's a matter of logic. Highlight that. A matter of logic, of being able to spot weaknesses in other people's arguments and to avoid them in your own. Now, it's ironic that how long have I been teaching? Lord have mercy. I've been an ordained minister now for 44 years, and I've been teaching professionally for at least 30, okay? And the first year, I've been given a class to teach that is called logic, okay? Logic is a branch of philosophy, and logic is basically teaching people how to break down an argument to see whether an argument is valid or not, okay? Before I taught the course at Southern, I had to teach myself, okay? And it's important to understand that the more you read, the more you study, the more critical you're going to be. Being critical is not a negative. Being critical means that you're looking at things with a different set of lenses. You're looking deeper into things, all right? And so public speaking in a course like this is going to help you to become more critical in your thinking. Are you with me? Questions?
No,
Comments?
I have just a little statement.
All right.
Bishop, in just a simple conversation, I've been known to ask myself, where is the logic in it?
That's good. That's good. Because a lot of times people make decisions that doesn't have a sound logical basis to it.
I be looking for the logic. Sometimes I
Yeah,
can't find it.
that's good. That's good.
Would you say logic is the opposite of wisdom?
No, I would say
Or they
that,
work-
no, I would say logic is the use
Use
of
of
wisdom.
wisdom.
Yes. Our logic is using wisdom more rationally.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. All right, let's move on. Now, so we're gonna be looking at critical thinking, and that's important. Look at the last paragraph. If you are wondering what this has to do with your public speaking class, the answer is quite a lot. As the class proceeds, you will probably spend a good deal of time organizing your speeches. While this may seem like a purely mechanical exercise, it is closely interwoven with critical thinking. If the structure of your speech is disjointed, highlight that, and confused, odds are that your thinking is also disjointed and confused, okay? If, on the other hand, the structure is what? Clear and cohesive, there is a good chance your thinking is too. Organizing a speech is not just a matter of arranging the ideas you already have. Highlight this. Rather, it is an important part of shaping the ideas themselves. All right? So it's one thing to have a good idea about something. It's another thing, students, how you shape those ideas when you're communicating them. It's almost like this. And in fact, I remember counseling someone, and I was telling the individual about having rocks in a bag. And there are some rocks you don't need to be carrying. So get that out your bag. That's a problem. It's your problem, okay? So get those rocks out of your bag. Now, looking at this, you could have great ideas about something, but it's how you organize those rocks. You got a lot of rocks in your bag. It's called your speech.
Exactly.
You got a lot you want to say, and all of it could be good, and maybe not. So you need to be critical in what do I include in this speech? What do I exclude? What do I, in other words, what must I communicate? I must say this. I must say that. That's how you become critical, all right? And after writing your speech, you have to look at it and say something like, could I have added this? Or was it necessary for me to say that? That's critical thinking when it comes to what you're saying. Now, as a professor, I'm always grading my students, so I am going to ask questions like, why didn't you add this? Or why didn't you add that? Because I'm looking more critically than they are. And that's normal. Are you with me? All right? So whether you realize it or not, there's a lot of psychology involved in public speaking. There's critical thinking and logic involved in public speaking. Questions? Go ahead, Betty.
I have a comment.
Comment.
This class, the more you get into it, I was kind of like weary of taking the class or
Sure,
not.
sure.
But I'm learning right now that in everything that you're saying, even in our other studies, we need this class.
Oh, yes.
Because it's not just speaking, but receiving,
Yes.
listening.
Yes.
Like we're doing the homework.
Yes.
What are you trying to say?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm grateful.
Yes. In other words, all of our classes complements each other.
Yes.
And you will definitely need to incorporate this in your information or in your learning processes.
Yes.
It's definitely critical, all right? And so this is important. Any other questions?
I have one
Yes.
more comment and then I'm gonna shut up. What you just explained, if I understood correctly, is like someone in a conversation giving you the last part of the story first, with the rocks.
That's possible. Yeah, I mean, that's not what I was explaining, but that's possible. In other words, sometimes the way people communicate what they're saying, they might get it out of place.
Right.
But what I was actually saying to that person that I was counseling is that you're carrying something you don't need to carry. Take those rocks out of your bag. Keep what you need, but why are you carrying all of this?
But in the organization part of the rocks is
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Yes,
Organizing the rocks that I keep.
sure.
You know, have you ever been in a conversation where they told you the last part of the conversation first? And you're
Yeah.
like confused?
Yes, yeah. So you're right. You're organizing your speech where you're putting it in a logical order,
Yeah,
working towards a conclusion.
exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. All right, let's close with this. I'm going to ask that you read the shaded area of page 17, using public speaking in your career. I want to get to the next page, which is the speech communication process. When we look at the speech communication process, we mentioned there is the speaker, there is the message. we understand that the speaker on page 18, the person who is what? Presenting an oral message to a listener. Okay? So, speech communication, read this with me, everyone. Speech communication begins with the speaker. If you pick up the telephone and call a friend, you are acting as a speaker. Of course, you will also act as a listener when your friend is talking. In public speaking, you will usually present your entire speech without interruption. All right? Your success as a speaker depends on you. Highlight that. On your personal credibility, your knowledge of the subject, your preparation of the speech, your manner of speaking, your intensity to the audience and the occasion. But successful speaking also requires enthusiasm. You got to be excited about what you're communicating. You can't expect people to be interested in what you say unless you are interested yourself. If you are truly excited about your subject, your audience is almost sure to get excited along with you. You can learn all the techniques of effective speech making, but before you can be of much use, you must first have something to say, something that sparks your own enthusiasm. All right, so it's very important that you be enthusiastic about what you are saying. And that brings us to the message, all right? That brings us to the message. What is the message? Whatever a speaker communicates to someone else. That's the message. Let's just read together the first paragraph. The message is whatever a speaker communicates to someone else. If you are calling a friend, you might say, I'll be a little late picking you up tonight. This is the message. That is the message. But it may not be the only message. Perhaps there is a certain tone in your voice that suggests reluctance, hesitation. The underlying message might be, I really don't want to go to that party. You talk me into it, but I'm going to put it off as long as I can. So guess what? I'm going to be late. What you're really saying is I don't want to go, but since you talked me into it, I'm going to go, but I'm going to be late. All right. So again, that's the message you're communicating. Your tone communicates a certain message. The way you articulate what you're saying communicates a certain message. Are you with me? All right, I'm going to stop here. We'll pick up the next time. But you need to look at those other areas known as channel, the listener, feedback, interference, and the situation. All right? And we'll get into the multicultural aspect and cultural diversity in public speaking. As you can tell, this is a broad subject. And some people take public speaking and then they take advanced public speaking. Okay? So it can be broad.
But Bishop, what about speech writing? Would that be a different class, or would you learn all that?
Absolutely. No, that's a different
So
class.
that's a different class.
Speech
So actually-
writing is a different class because you're now having to arrange how someone else is communicating.
Okay, so but what about your own speech? You don't have to write.
Yeah, you will have to write, but most of the
because you're
time,
communicating it yourself.
yes, but in speech writing, you're going to learn, just like in sermon preparation, that you're using an outline where you're not writing every
Everything,
word
okay.
or everything you're thinking.
Okay,
Your point is your thought.
right.
You don't have to
Okay.
write your thought.
Okay.
You see, so you'll see that in speech writing, it'll be more detailed.
Okay.
Okay?
Gotcha.
Good question, though. Anyone else?
I just wanted to say, the part in, don't expect perfection,
Yes.
I like that part that says, no, that's not what it says. Yeah, don't expect perfection. It was the part that said, because the audience does not know what the speaker plans to say, it hears only what the speaker does say.
Yes.
I like that. It's like,
Yes.
you don't know what I'm coming to say, so.
Exactly. Yeah, and you have to be careful of that because you don't want to anticipate what you think your audience is thinking. And that's why in public speaking, your introduction is so important. Because in your introduction, you're telling them what you're going to communicate. So that eradicates anything they might be thinking. Oh, so that's where he's going. Oh, so that's what she's going to talk about. Your introduction communicates what your speech is about, and the introduction is very important. Very important. All right? Questions? Well, I've enjoyed this class. What about you? Amen. Awesome. You can stop the video for me, Larry. Yes, Sister Brooke.
Yes, I learned when you was reading about the negative